Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today is another attempt at a get ready with me. I didn't really realize how challenging these videos were going to be for me because of the makeup application. You know, I do my makeup every day and it never occurred to me that it would be more challenging to do that in a different setting, or that it would be challenging to do that and talk at the same time. I know the first video I made, I ended up just making it watchable by fast forwarding through the eyeshadow application. I've sort of rigged a setup here where I have a mirror that's higher and closer, and I think the lighting is better, so I don't know. If sort of err on the side of caution, I'm not going to talk about anything that's too important during this, just in case we need to speed through it again. The other thing, well, I would say since the beginning of starting to film videos, just in general, audio has been my #1 challenge. I have never been able to really record audio that I think is stellar. I'm gonna put timestamps because I am a talker and I tend to ramble, and I know not everybody loves that. So if you're here for more of the commentary stuff, I'll definitely put timestamps. But just to vent, I guess, if nothing else, I didn't really want to spend $200 or $300 on the microphone that I really wanted, which was the Rode Shotgun Pro. I hope to get that someday, but you know, I lose money doing this. I don't make money doing YouTube. So it's hard for me to justify that, especially when so many experts say that you can get really good audio cheaper than that. You don't need to start with a $300 microphone. So I got this Deity mini shotgun mic. Now, the reason I wanted a shotgun mic is because I wanted it to be able to not be on top of me for it to pick up audio. So, you know, I've seen enough reviews of this. I watched hours of reviews, and this was on sale during Prime Day. So I was able to get a decent $50 microphone for like 30 or 40 bucks, and it's plug and play. So I did not want anything that had its own like software to figure out. I can't. Like, I am not there yet. I am not ready to take that on. So I need easy to set up and, you know, plug and play, edit with the rest of the video. I need like easy to operate stuff here. And every video that I've made so far with this microphone has been so bad, I thought maybe it wasn't plugged in right. Like, you know, that's how bad it was. The first video I ever had to actually delete was because I went to play it back, and the only way I could hear it is with headphones, and that's like ridiculous. Like, my cell phone did a better job than that. So right now I have it rigged, so hopefully it's out of frame, but the microphone is very close to my mouth. And if this doesn't work, I am just returning this thing because there's no way that I could be any closer to the microphone than I am right now. Anyway, vent over. I still have a long way to go in terms of polishing this, but I am here to show realness. I am an elder millennial who has no technological experience. Like, I felt growing up that I had a leg up on, you know, other people because my mother and her brother were both in tech. You know, my uncle was building his own computers in his garage back when Steve Jobs was doing it. Like, he is an absolute genius when it comes to all things computer. I did not inherit any of that. My mother's really good with technology too. Didn't help me because I just get angry and I throw my hands up if it doesn't work the first time. So, you know, I consider myself technologically challenged. So all of this is a learning curve. And I'm not outgoing. I'm not great at putting my thoughts into words. I love when people talk about how, like, when your phone or Facebook shows you memories, it's like so cringy to see things that you said 5, 10 years ago. I get cringe when I see things that I posted last week. So I am not the best when it comes to self-expression. But despite all of this, I freaking love makeup and I want to talk about it with a community of people who feels the same way. So that is why I am here. It's not because I think I have anything super revolutionary to offer, but I am definitely a regular old person, and I know that those are the kind of people that I like to chat about this stuff with. So that's what I'm doing here. To keep things simple, today I'm going to be using the Natasha I Need a Nude palette, and I like to use this palette to set a lot of eye looks up. I'm not sure, I don't know how well you can see, but I have two pans, which I am very proud of. One is the fair shade and one is in tender, and it's sort of cheating, I guess, because I use the fair shade to set my eye primer. So that's not really the same as using it up in an eye look, because I could use setting powder for that. So, I mean, whatever. I do really like it. I like it better than using a setting powder or another type of powder to set because it helps blank the color out. I use eye primers that even the color on my lids. That's primarily what I use them for. So I like that this adds a layer on top of that to even the cover out even more, and it makes it so that shadows blend really well on top. So I have to say this is by far, hands down, no contest, my most used eyeshadow palette, at least since the CoverGirl days when I was actually panning all three shades of my little quads or quints, because I definitely used to actually do that. Back when that was the only eyeshadow that I owned. So this being nice and neutral, I can set eye looks up and then I can use my singles because I don't use my singles enough. I don't have the biggest collection. All of my singles fit in here, but this is pretty full and I don't think they get the love they deserve. So having a palette like this makes it so that I can set up my eye look how I like, and then I can grab one of those and come up with like a custom look that, I really like. Most of my singles are from Glaminatrix, so I love every single one of them. Anyway, without jabbering on, I'm going to start with the shade Mesh, and this is how I do my eyeshadow every day. I start with my outer crease. And by the way, I'm going to talk through this, but I do have some things to talk about in this video, not because I want to be a commentary channel. I am really going off on a lot of tangents here. Um, I don't want to be a commentary channel. I filmed this video last week and I put drama in the title and I made the thumbnail really interesting because I wanted people to click on it. However, I have since thought about that, and I don't think I want to go that route because I don't want to ever talk about drama. I am not somebody who has the stomach for criticism or people's rabid fans coming after me, so I never really want to throw my hat in that ring because I don't have the stomach for it. It's not because I don't have opinions. I have a lot of very strong opinions about a lot of issues, but first of all, I don't watch drama channels. I'm not in the beauty community for that reason. And, it's too much to keep up on. Like, I have a life with like real problems that are mine. I don't find that stuff to be that entertaining. So my big takeaway was that if I did that, and maybe it would get more views because drama or controversy always gets more views, it's false advertising, because that's not, like, once in a while I'll talk about stuff that's going on in the beauty community, but by and large, that's not what I'm gonna do. So I'm certainly not gonna lead with that. I'm going to do this today as an experiment, just see how it goes, see how people receive it, and if it's liked, then I'll do it again, and if not, I'll just move on. Right now, I'm sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Like, I also plan on this week doing a Bath and Body Works video. I don't plan on being a candle channel by any means. I certainly don't have enough for that, but it's something that I enjoy, so I'm like, throw it up, see what happens, see if anyone's interested. I know that I'm not the only one who likes fall. I know that a lot of people like fall and fall scents and Halloween. I love Halloween. I love Halloween makeup, but I also love everything else, like the decorations. I love dressing up. I love, all that stuff. So I am certainly going to include some of that. And, it's not going to be the bulk of what I do on this channel. That is going to be reviews, but I'm just going to throw some different kinds of videos out there and just basically see what happens. All right, I'm clearly struggling with the whole get ready portion of this. But anyway, so I always start with that. Then I go into my inner crease with a more targeted brush. That I was using the A502, now I'm using the A504, and I'm going in with Tender, the darker gray. One thing I didn't realize until I got this palette was how much I liked cool tones on me. I do lean a little bit cool, but for some reason, I always, like, my eye was always drawn towards warmer shades. And, that's what was popular for like 10 years. Like, it was all about warm palettes. But getting this palette helped me realize that I actually like cooler tones, or at least more neutral leaning tones. So once I get those two colors on, I like to blend with a bare brush. And a lot of times I'll see what it needs. Like, do I need to lighten it or deepen it? So if I need to lighten it a little bit, sometimes I'll just use a little bit of, right now I'm using Stone to sort of marry these two together. And then I go in on my outer corner. I'm going back into Tender. And this is using A501. I'm also hoping that by doing these Get Ready With Me, I'm like practicing for reviews, so maybe I'll focus on more Get Ready With Me style videos for a little while, and then by the time I'm ready to do a review, it'll just look a little bit more seamless. At least in the beginning, I do plan on reviewing palettes by using them like the way I would normally do my makeup with, all the lights on in my bathroom where I can see the most clearly, and getting photos and videos from those looks so I can like really show the way that a palette can look, and then using it in the video will just sort of be an addendum to that. But at least for right now, I don't think I'm doing my best work in this mirror. So now I'm using the Singe Beauty EO4 to deepen my outer corner, and I'm using Silhouette to do that. It's funny because growing up, I always thought I had big eyes, and then at some point I realized that I actually have normal eyes. I just have a really small face. So that to say that my eyes are actually kind of on the small side. So I do really appreciate these more targeted brushes. That and they're hooded. So going in again with my A503. It's funny because when I first looked at these brushes, they fan out at the top, but they taper in just enough for me to get into my crease and do a diffused. It's really hard for me to describe what I mean. I know a lot of people like the brushes that taper strongly in for hooded eyes to really get into the crease. My thing is I like something that is a little bit wider at the end of the brush because I want it to blend. So it's, yes, targeted, but also blended. If that makes any sense at all, I have no idea. But I just really like the shape of this brush set. Like it's also the brush set that I got when I was learning how to do my makeup for the first time, so I'm sure that's part of it. Anyway, so now I'm going to reach into my singles. I think today I'm going to keep it simple. Just quickly, I wanted to show sort of a visual of why I like Laminatrix so much. So here, I just did a swatch of a regular Clio shimmer, and they're beautiful. But I have it next to a similar shade in Glaminatrix, and here I used Panda. The one on the bottom is the one from Glaminatrix, and it takes shimmer to a new level. And I'm all about the shimmer. I'm all about the high octane sparkle of it all. So that's why I think I'm just so incredibly enamored with Glaminatrix. I know sometimes that cannot sit the best on texture, but I really haven't had that issue with Glaminatrix. So now I'm going to use this pink shade. It's Candy Egg, just because I don't know why, I'm just feeling pink today. So I'm going to use a little bit of this on the center of my lid, and then I'm going to reach into probably my most used single, which is Fox. I really love this shade. So I like to put it on initially with my finger, and then I'll go in with the Singe EO1, which is my favorite brush because of the fact that it's pointed enough to get into my tiny inner corner area, but it also picks up shimmer in a way that most brushes can't. So, you know, I really respect to people who do all of their makeup with brushes. Even when I spray my brushes with MAC Fix Plus, I don't feel like I get enough shimmer. It doesn't do it for me. Maybe if I was going for a more subtle shimmer, but I'm never going for a more subtle shimmer, so I realize I have not blended very well. All right, so that's good enough for now. I am going to clean up my outer corner a little bit though. I'm going to do liner and lashes, and I'm also going to clean up under my brow just, you know, with the little concealer. And then I'm going to come back and we're going to move on to foundation, which is much easier for me. Okay, so I've definitely done worse, but I've done better also. I just threw on some liner and mascara and these really small flare lashes from the Bright Lashes. These are my favorite half lashes. I've wanted to start getting into the individual lashes because I actually think they look better on me, but I didn't, you know, I really didn't want to take the time to try to figure that out today. So I just put these on real quick. The eye look is all right. I mean, I guess if anything, there's room for improvement. So that's never bad. All right, now today, because I just wanted to feel pretty, I'm using my Chanel #1, which is my favorite foundation. I just finally reordered 2 of these from Ulta. It's like an Ulta exclusive, which is a little bit surprising considering I think this is really popular. I'm surprised they don't make it available at other places. But the Chanel #1, I don't love the shade range. I don't think, well, Chanel is not really known for having great shade ranges to begin with, but I can't even find a shade. I mix two. Right now I mix B20 and B30, and I think it looks all right, but you know, they could certainly work on their shade range across the board. You know, a lot of people point out that it's better than it used to be, and like, okay, but there's still room for improvement. All right, so I'm gonna cut some of this because this video is not really about the makeup. It's really just about me running through doing my makeup, and I like to mention what I'm using, but I'm not reviewing anything, which is great considering how much trouble I have doing this and talking at the same time. But whatever. My whole idea for this video today was to chat about sort of current events in the beauty community and just chat about what's been happening and how I feel about it. And, you know, like I said early on, I don't really ever want to be controversial. The first subject I wanted to talk about, I don't think is very controversial. I think it's just more observational about a new phenomenon, which is this whole traveling with your community. I know it has been going on for a little while, and I think it's actually more common in other communities, but now people from the beauty community are sort of hopping on board. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with it in and of itself. When I first came across this, the two people that I've seen, which, I'm not going to say their names. I think most people know who they are. I don't know them like at all. I'm not invested in their channels. So I'm certainly not criticizing them as people. I'm sure that they're perfectly fine people. This just isn't something that has been around long enough for, I think, all of the kinks to be worked out. And I don't know that it's something that's going to take off in a way that that's ever even going to be necessary. But so, without beating around the bush, the Italy trip that's happening now, for example, when I first saw that, I was interested to see what the price was just because I love Italy. And I was interested to see what the cost was versus if you were to plan a trip like with your family. Just, out of curiosity, just to look at prices. And in order to do that, I had to sort of, sign up and get access to just the very preliminary details of it all. And when I say these trips, I'm not talking about brand trips like the one that Benefit just did or Creators and Friends or anything like that. I'm very specifically talking about trips that I guess they're planned by a YouTube person and they open the trip up to their community members, but it's really open to the public. So when I first saw this, I assumed it was like a Groupon situation, that it was really just people who wanted to travel, and rather than do that through a travel company where you don't actually know who else is signing up for these things. Like when you do cruises or tours or any kind of group activities when you're traveling, you don't know who else is signing up. It's anonymous for the most part, I think. So anyway, I assumed that that's what this was. It wasn't until later that I found out that this is actually something that travel companies do. And I believe the one that is most popular right now is Trova, for Trova trips, where the influencer is actually getting paid. So not only are they going on the trip for free, them and a plus one for free, but they're actually getting paid. And how much they get paid is set by them. So none of that means that it's not still a good deal. I want to be clear about that. Obviously, some people can really try to take advantage of their community, I guess, like potentially, and then the prices are not better than if you were to plan a vacation on your own. But I'm going to go ahead and give people the benefit of the doubt in that they're not trying to rip off their subscribers, and everybody is still probably getting a little bit of a deal. Now, I don't think it's as much of a deal as you would get if you did go through a Groupon type situation. That's all about saving money and not about community. I think that is still a better deal. But the selling points of this are you get a little bit of a discounted rate and you're traveling with people that have similar interests as you. In theory, that sounds fantastic. Also, most of these people, I'm sure, they start a group chat before the trip even happens. So you feel like you're getting to know who you're going to be stuck with for a week or so, whatever, however long it is. And like, that's good. But there's so many risks. Like, there's so many opportunities for this to go wrong. And I'm gonna link Audra's video from Audra Rains because they did a fantastic job. I mean, if you don't follow Audra, I highly recommend it because they are just so incredibly pragmatic and well informed about so many different types of issues that they are my absolute, I could hear them talk about anything really. But in this case, I think Audra did an exceptional job breaking all of this down and talking about a lot of the potential issues. There's the obvious ones like stalkers, but there's also like, what if somebody has a mental illness that they're not managing well? Like, that could ruin the trip for everyone. But the biggest reason that I'm even bringing this up in the first place is because all of those things are fine. You know, it's a risk that you're willing to take, okay. But the problem that I have is that none of these people are disclosing that this is not just a trip out of the kindness of their heart. They are not just doing this for community. They are making money. And I don't think that that's bad at all. I think, if anything, if this really is as good as they're making it out to be, they deserve to be being paid. The problem is they're not talking about it. And I find that dishonest. Now, obviously, I am not in these private groups. Like, I went as far as signing up and getting email information, but I never, I wasn't going to put a deposit down or anything. So I was not invited to the group chat or any of that. So I don't know for sure. It is possible that there is some disclosure happening once you get to that point. However, I think that the disclosure should happen in the very beginning. I have an anxiety disorder, so I would never be able to travel in a setting like this. However, if I somehow got the opportunity, I would make it clear to my audience that this is benefiting everyone and this is why. I would go hard on the group rate discount end of things. And who knows, maybe Trova Trips won't allow people to disclose the full amount of how much they're getting paid, so maybe you can't say how much. But I would certainly say that I am not only able to travel for free, but I am making a little bit of money at the same time. Because to me, that level of transparency is the only way that people are not going to feel taken advantage of if they find out after the fact. I think without that level of disclosure, this is kind of a recipe for disaster. Obviously, not on a really small scale. Like, if only a handful of people ever take these trips, it's easy to keep a handful of people in check. But if this continues, and it sounds like it will, it sounds like these creators enjoy doing this and they want to continue. So the more people start taking trips like this, the more potential there is for people to be angry if they're having to shell out thousands of dollars to take a trip that somebody else gets to take for free. I know that there was an issue a few months back about something on Reddit where one of the influencers was caught saying to somebody that they were not going to show up somewhere for free. If they weren't being paid for, like, it was like a meet and greet situation, if they weren't being paid, they weren't showing up. And that's just nasty. That's just not nice, considering these people, these fans or whatever, are the reason that you're in the position you're in the first place. It's just not nice to treat people like that. I sort of feel like if they're not making these people sign NDAs, it's just kind of a recipe for something not so great to happen down the line. And, again, I don't think that these trips are inherently bad in any way. I think they have potential to be actually community building, and that could be fine. But I just think they need to be a bit more transparent. That's really my only criticism. That and, the whole parasocial relationship aspect of things, I don't think I would ever feel safe going on a trip like this because of that. It's not the same as taking a trip with a club that you're in where you show up and you do a hobby together in person, or even an online community of you're all just fans of a certain thing and you decide to get together and do a trip. I think that's all a lot safer. It's when there's one person that's considered above everyone else that the dynamic shifts, and sometimes the creator has nothing to do with that. Sometimes it's just the problem of opening it up to the public, and not everyone's healthy. And it's really hard to filter that out. I'm assuming, like, background checks are expensive. I'm expecting that there's none of that happening. But even if there was, it's not like you can filter for interpersonal relationship issues. So I don't know. I don't want to keep rambling on about that. Audra's video is way better because they speak in a way more linear fashion than I am right now. But all that to say, it's just, I think it's interesting. I'll be interested to see how this plays out. Part of me, I'm not gonna lie, I hope that somebody asks them to be more transparent, because other than that, I think it's fine. It's not for me. I'll be interested to see how it all plays out. The other issue that I'm kind of throwing in here is just more of a statement about influencers and what I think is okay to tolerate and what isn't. I mean, everybody has their own personal priorities and things that are deal breakers for them. You know, on one hand, I really like creators who talk about themselves. There are a few creators that I watch that just do reviews. They keep it to reviews only and they never talk about their personal lives. And I totally respect that. I don't think that I could sit here and talk about my personal life and never screw up. Like, we're all people. We are all 100% of us works in progress, learning and growing every single day. I don't ever want to be too harsh on people who just make mistakes. However, this whole like unbothered movement where people screw up and then they decide that silence is more lucrative and they don't owe anybody an explanation, like that's perfectly acceptable when it comes to certain things. But in my humble opinion, there comes a point at which if an influencer says or does something and decides that their audience doesn't deserve an explanation for it, I am just not going to accept that. You know, we all have the right to believe whatever we want to believe. That is totally true. But we also have the right to not support things that we don't believe in. So I don't know what a good example would be, but if somebody partners with a company that does something shady that I don't like, that doesn't 100% mean that that person was even aware of that. And I will never use the word cancel because I think that word has just gotten totally twisted and turned on its head. But I will never unsubscribe for a single incident like that. However, if somebody does something homophobic, racist, misogynistic, the list goes on. Human rights are very important to me. You know, as sort of just a little bit of background, my own mindset and where it comes from is honestly, I was just born that way. I'm sensitive and I really take it seriously when people are discriminated against. And I used to think I needed to qualify that. I remember as a young person being told to stay in my lane. And that made me very self-conscious to ever speak about things that I'm not literally a part of. And I think there's a big difference between telling somebody how to feel to fix their problem, whatever it is, and just supporting other people. That's the big reason, you know, I say anytime something happens with a group of people, for whatever reason, you always go to that group of people and you ask them what they can do to be supportive and how and what that would look like. I absolutely am very sensitive to the fact that often people try to come in with a savior complex and want to be a social justice warrior or whatever, and it does the opposite of help. And I think all of that is absolutely true. However, I also think that there is absolutely a place for being supportive. As long as you do that first, I think it is very important that people outside of the marginalized community not only support those people, but vocally support those people. And that's always what I have aimed to do. I am sure that I have not always done it perfectly, but I think when I got a little bit older, and I don't know if it's the benefit of having a fully developed prefrontal cortex or whatever it is, just being more sure of who I am, I've come to the point where I don't need to qualify why I care about someone. Like, I don't need to have a family member affected to explain why I care. I don't need a reason to care about someone. Like, I just care about people and groups of people because they're people. That's it. So anyway, a long way of The only point I'm trying to make here is that from time to time issues will come up that I feel compelled to speak about, but I don't personally think that I am gifted in that way, so I'll leave that mostly to people who are better at expressing that. When it does occasionally come up and I do feel compelled to say something, I'll just do my best. And that's really all any of us can do. I guess explaining why everything that happened with Raw Beauty Christie was so sad to me. You know, back in the day, she was somebody that I related to. I really liked. I thought she was refreshing and down to earth and relatable. And this isn't new. Like everything that happened, most of it is in a Reddit thread that is actually very informative. I don't think people give the beauty guru chatter group enough credit for actually trying to keep things civil over there. And I certainly don't spend a lot of time over there. I check it maybe twice a year, genuinely. But I looked into it for this because apparently she put her son in a t-shirt that had a saying on it from a group that supports anti-LGBT legislation. Now, to me, this is different from other things that she's done. There have been a number of reasons in the past year that made me stop following her. I was no longer feeling like she was a reliable source of information for a number of reasons. But what made me unsubscribe was definitely this incident with the t-shirt, because how she handled it was to stay silent. And then I heard through other people, not directly from her, that she made a video and just threw in the fact that she is now hosting a gay wedding on her property. I just wanted to clarify real quick that I don't think it's right to call same sex weddings gay weddings. They are just weddings in general. Now, in my opinion, if you're somebody who had these allegations and they're not true, you would do more than just throw in a video that kind of you have gay friends. That doesn't explain to me why she put that shirt on her son. You know, it's one thing to like a picture out of a mistake, but it's another thing to buy a shirt and put it on. And even if she did all of that and is still not really homophobic, it's not a deal breaker for her. And she didn't care enough to address it. I just can't support that. You know, we support these creators with our views. And whether or not we ever use their affiliate links or buy their collabs or use their codes or whatever, the view itself is not only supporting them financially, but helping other people find their channel and whatever. And I just really had to go through all of my socials and unfollow her from everything, because that is definitely a deal breaker for me. You know, this is not Michaela with Mascara Gate. This is a very serious issue for me personally, and I know she has very rabid, very loyal fans, and I would never normally speak about something like this unless it was something that I thought people needed to know about. I'm really mentioning it because I don't think everybody even knows. I think she has a ton of viewers, myself included. I watched her for a long time without really knowing the details of the direction this was heading in until somebody else made a video about it. That's when I knew better. And I feel like, as somebody who hates drama, like I hate drama, it's easy to miss. And I just thought I would bring it up just in case. Not that anyone's going to see my channel before almost anyone else's channel at this point, but just in case anybody isn't aware of what's going on, the allegations are enough for me. You can look yourself, you can look at the Reddit post and you can make your own conclusions, and there are definitely people who don't think that this is true. And if you really don't think that this is true, I certainly don't fault people for coming to that conclusion. Like, I definitely have had people in my real life, even before, who I explain away certain things because I don't want to believe that they aren't who I thought they were. So, you know, it's not outside of the realm of possibility because she hasn't addressed it. I mean, I sort of think she's not addressing it because she doesn't want to lose fans on either side of the belief system. You know, I'm not her. At the end of the day, it is definitely possible that this isn't true. So I'm not going to say that it's beyond the realm of possibility. So if that is the case, I will eat my hat and I will do so happily because I want there to be less actually homophobic people in the world. Like, I'm rooting for her, man. I want this to not be true. Either that or have it be used as an opportunity to expose some of the thought processes that can lead somebody who didn't used to feel like that to feel like that. Like, some kind of a silver lining could come from this, and I'm always going to root for that, absolutely. But for the time being, if nothing changes, I'm going to personally choose to unfollow and unsubscribe and try to keep my feed as positive as possible. You know, luckily, there's a plethora of creators that I have come across who I jive with, not only in a, we like the same kind of makeup, but you follow different people for different reasons. Some people I follow because they're just hilarious and fun to watch. There are definitely people that I follow who have a skill level in makeup that I can't even remotely relate to. But they're nice people that I feel like spending some time with on YouTube. So we all come here for different reasons. I mean, I definitely will never get political on here because I come to YouTube as an escape from all of that. But I bring who I am with me wherever I go. So all that to say, I guess that's a little bit about who I am, what my deal is, and I really don't think I'm going to make another video like this because I am totally insecure and unsure about how any of this is coming across. Like, so often intentions and how we execute something are not the same, and this might be a disaster for me. I have no idea. But I wanted to at least throw it out there into the universe and just see how it went. For the most part, I plan on doing reviews. I plan on doing eyeshadow reviews. I have too much makeup. I've wasted hundreds and thousands of, definitely thousands of dollars on makeup, and I want to help other people not do that. So that's my main objective. Just as sort of an antidote to this, my next video is going to be a candle review. I am not a candle expert by any means, but I think that will be nice and fun and simple. And then after that, I'm really hoping to do a Glaminatrix eyeshadow palette review. And then by the end of summer, I'm going to do a get ready with me using all of my favorite makeup, which is kind of what I've been doing. I'm not gonna lie. All of the makeup that I've used in these past two videos have been all of my favorite stuff. But in that video, I will make it about the makeup, and I will definitely be a lot more clear when I talk through the different things that I'm using. So regardless of if this video ever sees the light of day or not, thank you so much if you sat through this. You are amazing. I love you so much, and I hope you're having a fabulous week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.